Why do you think it's important that America is stacking Bitcoin? There's this notion of, do we even want governments to stack Bitcoin?
Yeah, and that's the question, right? We want it to be decentralized. Forget the governments. The governments are bad. I think with Trump being in office, I think he's kind of changing the guard when it comes to government, because people think that Trump is, the mainstream media will say he's a fascist, he's Hitler and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, what he's trying to do is he's trying to make the government smaller, right? And he's trying to put the power down from the federal down to the state. That's what he's trying to do. That's why he's trying to get rid of a lot of things in the federal government, the bloated stuff. But when it comes to Bitcoin, we have states already trying to get a Bitcoin strategic reserve or a Bitcoin act put through the states. So I think it's good for the federal government to have it, because, again, we want to be on that Bitcoin standard through control of our own self, because, again, the government doesn't control our lives. They work for us and we don't work for them. And I think Donald Trump, just by buying Bitcoin and putting it on the balance sheet alone, is saying that, hey, we're working for you, right? Because Bitcoin is freedom money. If he was trying to control us, he would not be buying Bitcoin, right? He's using the crypto, quote unquote, stockpile as, hey, we already have it. We're not going to buy anymore. If we compensate it, we'll put it in there. That's a whole nother kind of like a little investment. But I think Bitcoin, with Donald Trump and what his plan is, he's trying to make a freedom money. I think he's trying to give the power back to the people. So I think it's good for America to do that. But also I think America, I'm a proud American saying this, I just think we're the leader, right? We have the biggest economy. We have, I think, the most famous people in the world. We're kind of like a trendsetters around the world. Everywhere I've been overseas, I can hear our music playing in people's cars. I can watch movies from our actors and actresses and stuff like that, and I see that. But culturally speaking, America is kind of the leader, where when we do something because it's cool, everybody else will follow. So I think Donald Trump being in office, again, signing that executive order for the strategic Bitcoin reserve, and then hopefully this summer we can get the Bitcoin Act up, and then we start really buying it. I think it's great for governments to have it, because, again, I hate to say this, but I'm not a big democracy guy when it comes to some countries. So I believe some countries should have some monarchs, right? America is in an experiment. We're only 248 years old, to be 249 this year, and for us to have all this diplomacy and being a constitutional republic and voting for our people in office by democratic or democracy, I think that's great, and I think it'll show other countries you can do that as well, right? You can vote for the money you want, because once people in these countries start buying Bitcoin after the arms race happens with America and other countries following suit, other people go, wait a minute, Belgium might say, well, we have this much Bitcoin. Well, I want to use that Bitcoin too. I want to buy some of that Bitcoin too. I want us to be on a Bitcoin standard too. So I think with America leading the way, not only will it help its own people, its own citizens, but I think the arms race of Bitcoin adoption will start. And I think us being at the forefront, being the leader of the free world, will help Bitcoin's adoption immensely.
And it's super interesting that you mentioned that, because I think the USA has a lot of power because of the money printer.
Yeah.
This is a big reason, and you're totally right. I watch, I think every sitcom, every show that I watch is an American. I think that there's not one European one in there. It's so fascinating to think about that. And yeah, the music a little bit less. There's a lot of good music also coming from in Europe that I see and hear, but there's a lot of American music also coming in. With show and movies, I think it's very dominant American, and this influences a lot of culture. This comes through. But the bigger part for me is the money. There are currently, 67 countries that only use the US dollar that aren't the United States.
Wow.
United States themselves, like El Salvador did before, and now they still if you're honest, they're still on the US dollar standard. Most of them use the US dollar. The balance sheet of El Salvador might have some Bitcoin, but if you actually look at what they have and how many Bitcoin they have, they're mostly still on the US dollar standard, even though they're slowly trying to be independent from that. And there are a lot of countries that have that. So the ability from America to export inflation to other countries and import the power to them is fascinating, which brings up the question of how do you think the USA will change on a Bitcoin standard or on the transitioning to a Bitcoin standard? And this might also be the reason if Howard Lutnick, Donald Trump, and all those Vivek Ramaswamy, all the people that are in the administration actually get that. I have no clue if they actually get that. But if they actually get that, then it makes a lot of sense why they are buying Bitcoin.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely think they get it. Vivek Ramaswamy was at a couple of Bitcoin conferences. But how I think it would change things, it would change things obviously for the better. I think this version of the Democratic Party in America would be destroyed because they are so against freedom, they're so against America, and they're so against Bitcoin that they would have to change. When I say destroyed, I don't mean like something bad's going to happen to them or the Democrat Party is going to fall apart. I'm just saying they'd have to go back to the old way of the Democratic Party. I don't really like the two-party system, but it is what it is. It's going to be this way. But I think what'll happen is the MAGA portion of the Republican Party will be its own entity and be stronger. And then I think the Democrat Party would have to go back to like a John F. Kennedy type of party, right? Where they're just, they have a little bit of different ideals than the Republicans, but they'd have to adopt Bitcoin. They just have to. You can't be a party in America if we become the Bitcoin, world leader and we have a strategic Bitcoin reserve and, we're on a Bitcoin standard here in America. You can't be against that because once people see it, you can't unsee it. Jor from 88 Sats Radio has a great quote, great saying. He says, once that green light is turned on, you can't turn it off. Meaning once you understand Bitcoin and you really understand it and that green light comes on, you can't unsee it. Just like when you find out, the food pyramid was a lie, or you find out all the mainstream media lied to you, or whatever kind of lie you figured out and what you found out the truth was, you're like, wait a minute, you're going to look back and say, this whole time, these Democrats or whoever were lying to me, right? So it would change that way. I think the parties would be closer aligned. They'd have to all be on board with Bitcoin. They may have little different things that they argue about, but as far as Bitcoin goes, there's be too many citizens that don't understand it, right? And you can't change that. Now, as far as the citizens will go, like I said earlier, it'll be great for everybody. I mean, the U.S. dollar, if it doesn't go to the way I want it to, like Satoshis, backed by, the dollar's backed by Satoshis, I believe it'll probably be the end of fiat currency if that's the case. And people will be just, it'd be a euphoria, man. It would be just so great. That's just my dream, man. You're making me feel so good even thinking about that, because my mission, Robin, I'm just on a mission, and I advise every single one of you guys to watch this. Every single one of your family, friends, anybody that doesn't understand Bitcoin, make sure you help them get as much as they can. We'll probably leave that to the end of the video, but again, I just think the world and our country in particular would be great on a Bitcoin standard. I think it would just be the changes would be outstanding, and I don't think there'd be any kind of conflicts or anything like that. I just think it would be great, really.
Absolutely. What do you mean by helping them to get more Bitcoin? Is like because it's a hard time to orange pill your friends and families. I've noticed actually that I completely stepped away and don't want to actively orange pill, because everyone knows I'm the Bitcoin podcaster, and if they have questions, they actually come to me. And I've noticed the more time I spend with people, the more Bitcoin they have. But I don't orange pill anymore. Yes. It's just when they're around me and they see how Bitcoin improved my life and impacted my life, they're like, maybe I should get some. Maybe I should ask Robin, like, why Bitcoin? And the people that don't spend that much time with me in the family, because I have a freaking huge family.
Yeah.
So I have people in there that I just see once a year or like twice a year, something like that. They don't spend a lot of time with me. So having that comparison of a cousin of mine that even works with me on the channel, he is really big on Bitcoin and he understands the community and he's really great, and he's young also, he's around 20. But then there are outside cousins, uncles, aunts that I've not seen for a year. They're asking me then at Christmas Eve, oh, but it uses too much energy, right? And it's really hard for me not to laugh at that question. Like it's almost now hard for me to stay serious if someone tells me this, because it's so outlandish for me to have that. But it's really hard. It's easy to. It's really important that we orange pill those people. So how do you look at that, and what do you mean with like getting more Bitcoin?
Yeah. Well, with me personally, I have a YouTube channel. So I do daily spins and give away Satoshis, invite my family and friends to come on there. But if you're just a regular pleb and you don't have a YouTube channel like me and Robin or something like that, there's different ways to do it. You can actually just buy them some Satoshis, right? If you just make a list of the most important people in your life, in the world, right? Your mom, your dad, your daughter, your kid, whoever, right? Put them all down on the list, in order, friends, family, whatever. And then if you want to set aside, start off with maybe 100 Satoshis or 1,000 Satoshis or 10,000, whatever it's good for you, put it away in, different maybe UTXOs or Lightning wallets or something like that. You can do that if they just completely refuse everything you're talking about, those people, right? But what I do in my personal life outside of YouTube is I have a Lightning wallet downloaded on my phone. I have them download it on their phone, and then I zap them some sats. Right now, again, saying, "Oh, you need to read the Bitcoin Standard, you need to listen to Michael Saylor, you need to do all that stuff," that doesn't work. But if you have a Lightning wallet on your phone and you zap them some sats, whether it's 10 sats, 20 sats, or whatever, and then after a little bit, they see the quote unquote price of the fiat currency underneath of the sats going up and up and up. And then you making little touch points here and there about it. Every once in a while, you'll bring it up every once in a while. Again, depending on the person, each one. I've noticed that when people have skin in the game, and I tell them, hey, don't do nothing with this. Don't delete the app. Don't sell it. Make sure you give them that caveat. But once they have a little bit of skin on the game, and every time you see them, again, you don't see them that much, just zap them something, or over the phone, say, hey, how you doing? You were talking to them, have a regular conversation. Don't bring up Bitcoin, zap them 20 sats or something, it's just, again, it's all about them having some kind of skin in the game, because you're always going to be more interested in what the price is something if you have it versus not having it. And that's just me personally, what I do. I don't really have all the answers to that, but me personally, that's what I do. But again, if these people just refuse to download a wallet or refuse to do that, I'll just, I have literally Satoshis put away for the people that I love that just absolutely don't like Bitcoin, but they love me and I love them. And I'm not going to love them and, not look at them the same because they don't have the same conviction of Bitcoin as me. I still love them. So I'll just say, okay, let me give my mom 100,000 sats. She'll be fine. She doesn't want to listen because, sometimes the older you get, especially, the boomers, they just don't want to hear it. So that's what I do. I just have them download a wallet, zap them some Satoshis, and if I love them really, really a lot and they don't want to listen to me, I'll just put some UTXOs away for them.
Stack for your family. I love that
Yes.
message. Like stack for your loved ones that might not get Bitcoin, just in case it catches on too much and they don't catch on it too much.
Yes. I love this, man. I just wake up every day, Robin. I look at the price. I say, wow, nobody still knows about this thing. I look at the mempool. I see blocks still coming out. I say, nobody stopped it. And I'm just like, what would I do if I didn't have this? Like, it literally sucks you into this black hole that you're just like, wow, man, I just want to help as many people as I can, starting with myself first, because we are the center of the universe, right? We in the world, and everything starts with you. And so I have to learn as much as I can and be that, be the Bitcoin guy or be the Bitcoin gal or whatever, to be that person where people can come to me and say, well, I have a question. Can you answer it for me? And I try my best to do that. And if I can't, I'll look it up. But at the same time, I'm just like, I got to get as many people into this that I love and care about as humanly possible. And it's just like, if you really truly love your family members, which all of you guys do, then again, get them as many Satoshis as you can humanly possible, but make sure you have as many as you can, learn as much as you can, and take care of your family in the future. I just love it.
What a beautiful message. And you're right. That would have been a great ending point. But I do have two more topics.
Sure.
I would love to go over with you. The one thing with strategic Bitcoin reserve is the game theory of it. We now discussed what's going on in America. What do you expect from that move, as America is highly watched, like every secret service agency in all of the world, in every country, is watching what the president of the United States is saying. They're not stupid. They're watching what America is doing. They're watching every executive orders, even though it has been, I think, over 100 executive orders, but they are listening. Like they're seeing all the executive orders and seeing what implication does that has. So what do you think does that has for ripple effects throughout the world?
Well, like I said earlier, I think it'll be an arms race because there's a lot of smart people around the world. And I think every country has some major Bitcoiners like yourself and your country. Like if you got a call from I don't know if it's a president or prime minister or something like that, and they said, "Oh, I'm gonna look at this guy in my country. Oh, he knows," and they brought you in. I mean, they would get so much knowledge from you. You'd be like, listen, this is what we need to do. We need to have our own strategic Bitcoin reserve. I think the arms race would be on as far as not only learning as much as they could about what this Bitcoin thing is and bringing the most smartest team in, but to getting as much as they can. Again, I think they'd all be fighting for the number 2 or 3 or 4 spot, because I think America would be number 1, obviously, but I think China would be buying a lot too. So I think, again, you're going to have some totalitarian countries that have, nefarious actors that have, central bank digital currencies already, with China and the spy stuff and the what is that called when they watch you on Facebook and they don't, all that stuff that they do, right? And social credit scores, and you can't do this, and you can't buy this amount of meat, or you can't go on this trip because you did this or did that. I think those countries would suffer a little bit because, again, when you have leaders like that, I don't think they'll let the Bitcoin trickle down to the people like America and some free countries will. But those countries would keep it on their balance sheet just to have power and control over the world as much as they could as an arms race. Because again, once Bitcoin becomes mainstream, you have to have it. I mean, you just do. So I think with America passing the strategic Bitcoin reserve, because like we said, America is the trendsetter. You can ask every person in the world, who's the president of the United States, and pretty much everybody could tell you who's the president of the United States. But if you ask them who's the leader of Australia, I don't know the leader of Australia. A lot of people don't. So again, with the name Donald Trump buying it and then America buying it, I think not only it'll be an arms race where everybody will be getting it, but I think the world would change tremendously. And let's just say the Bitcoin price will go up very, very fast.
I think we have very exciting times ahead, to say the least. Thank you for watching this video. This was only a snippet of the podcast. And if you want to watch the full episode and get all of the context of this episode, you can click right here or here. Oh, maybe also here.